Welcome back to my channel. So we are so excited to welcome Jean Pickford here. She is the executive director of the Scarring Alopecia Foundation. And so many of you, like me, may have been wondering who is out there, what is out there in terms of a resource that can help us and that has information, research, connection. And the Scarring Alopecia Foundation is just that organization. And so I want to first say a huge thank you to Jean because when I reached out to her, she responded very quickly, which lets you know the level of commitment that she and this organization has to supporting us. And then also Dr. Yolanda Lindsay, who was on our channel a couple of weeks ago, is one of the board members. And so we are surrounded by goodness and support. And so we are going to learn today about this foundation and why you need to be a part of it. So first, again, thank you, Jean. Thank you so much
Oh,
for.
you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's get started. Let's just jump right in there.
Okay.
What is the Scarring Alopecia Foundation and why should we um, be involved?
Well, that is a very good question and welcome. Thank you. Thank you everyone for having me and listening to all about the Scarring Alopecia Foundation. So what we are is a patient advocacy group. Our mission is to provide education and support to patients who have scarring alopecia and to promote research and help physicians and doctors who treat and study this disease.
Mhm.
And so we were formed in 2008 out in California, and it moved around the country a few times and ended up in the Philadelphia area where I live. And
I'm in Delaware.
no way, I'm near.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm in near Philly. I'm in a suburb of Philly, and so my background is in nonprofit patient advocacy, and I had a mutual connection who said, hey, we have this organization that we want to build, and you've got some of the skills that we're looking for. Do you have the time, and would you be interested? Well, that's all I needed to hear. I fell in love. I learned about this disease. I learned about the patients who are affected with it. I do have a background in dermatology, so it was a pretty easy transition.
Mhm.
And I saw the potential because this
Mhm.
was an underserved patient population. And as you know, patients with scarring alopecia sometimes are not easily identifiable or it's not recognized very quickly. There's
Right.
little knowledge out there about it. And it's a very emotionally devastating hair loss disease. So, all this combined, it really struck a chord with me. And I started in 2017 and have been growing the organization since then.
Awesome, awesome. And so tell us a little bit about what are the types of resources and tools and things that people can tap into by
Okay.
joining, and even tell us about the membership.
Yeah, well, the membership is free. So that is a misnomer. People have always thought that it costs money to join. It does not. We are welcome anybody with scarring alopecia or a stakeholder in the scarring alopecia world. If you're a physician, if you're a cosmetologist, if a trichologist, we have it all.
Mhm.
Right now, our database currently has about 9,000 members.
Wow.
So we are growing, which I guess is unfortunate, but
Right,
fortunate, right?
right,
Because that means
right,
more
right.
people are being diagnosed. But it means that there's more people that are empowering themselves and getting involved in an organization that can represent their voice.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, membership is free. We have a very comprehensive website. I encourage all viewers to go to www.scarringalopecia.org. And on our website, we have a whole area just for patients. We have resources um, to describe and outline what scarring alopecia is. We have lifestyle videos from patients who have some tips and tricks, some supportive videos. We have medical education videos with physicians. We have taped all of our conferences that we held virtually during the COVID, era. We've converted all of them into videos for everybody for free to watch.
Hmm.
Um, the organization has a really strong board of directors and medical and scientific advisory board. And you can see that these members are all the leading experts in scarring alopecia around the world. I mean, these are the top-notch physicians. They are the ones that everybody goes to for all the information about it. and they are guiding and leading our organization. So you
Mm-hmm.
can know that the information we're sharing is 100% medically vetted. It's not any type of opinions. It is
Right.
actually gone through medical rigor.
Right, right, right. And so you touched on it a little bit, the emotional side of it, right? And so I think one of the things that we found on our channel too, like I mean, there are a lot of people, I think there are more and more people with alopecia who are doing videos and getting their story out. And at the same time, and I find myself thinking about this, like, where can we go together? Like, where's the spot that we can go together, right? And so I think especially what you've just recently shared, is that you have, and you'll tell us about this, a group that meets monthly,
Correct.
right? For people to tap in. And I've also seen a couple of the webinars, and they are top notch in terms of the scientifically and the medical, the webinars. And so tell us about what you're seeing, I think, from your perspective in terms of that emotional side of it, and why connecting with the support group is helpful.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, like you said, it's a very emotionally charged disease, and so patients are not only navigating the medical aspects of it and trying to control it, but they're also navigating this emotional, this fear, this shame, this unknown, and all the feelings that come with it. And so we recognize that, and we have a CCCA monthly support group.
Mhm,
It is on the second Wednesday of every month, and it's open to anybody. All you have to do is just click a link and let us know if you want to get the invitation.
mhm,
It's led by really veteran CCCA patients.
mhm,
There is no, there's not a physician or anything in there. It's actually just designed for patients to be able to
mhm,
come and share concerns, questions, and communicate with one another. And there are
mhm,
some patients in there that black their screen. They don't show their name. They're just sitting, listening, and
right,
taking it all in. And then there's others who have questions and put them in the chat. And so this is really an incredible resource, because when you're
mhm,
sitting in your home by yourself, maybe spiraling and thinking about all the negative things, this is a resource for you, that you can come on and meet your fellow, compadres. These are
mhm,
individuals who have what you have, right? They're
mhm,
going through what you're going through. They may be further along in the journey.
mhm,
Some may be
mhm,
brand new into the journey, but
mhm,
together as a community, putting everybody into this one closed group, and it
mhm.
is very private and very confidential. We
Right.
don't tape these support groups. People always ask after it's over, is, oh, can I get that? We don't. We want you to be able to feel free and unencumbered, to be able to come on and have a relationship and build friendships and get support.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah.
And it's so important to be, and I'm actually going to start participating in those, but it's so important for this, because I've gotten so many emails and messages of people who feel so incredibly alone,
Yes.
right? So incredibly alone. And sometimes just hearing someone or seeing someone else who is on the same journey is just enough to allow you to, like, just catch your breath a little bit, right?
Right. And that's exactly it. I mean, if you don't want to be identified and you just want to sit in the background and kind of just start taking it all in, that's the perfect place for you, because you can join and you can just listen. And
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes just that hour long of listening to other patients and
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, that's what happened to me. And hey, I'm going through that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get inspiration, you can get support from all these patients who are like, I'm on the other side of it now. I've accepted it, or I've tried this. Um, you know, there's also discussion about ways to camouflage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, hey, I tried this, I tried that. So it's the emotional part, but it's also some tips and tricks as to
Mm-hmm.
how to best live your life.
Mm-hmm. Which is, it kind of leads into sort of the next question, sort of, is like, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in the field related to the scarring alopecia? And from those of us, I don't want to make an assumption that people who clicked on this channel know what scarring alopecia is. Most people would, because you're here because it's a really unique,
Mhm.
disease. But for
Right.
those who don't know, can you talk a little bit about scarring alopecias from your perspective, and then maybe some of the trends that you're seeing? Because there are some people who have CCCA, Central cicatricial. I have
Central
it and I mess it
centrifugal
up.
cicatricial
Right.
alopecia.
And then there's some who have frontal fibrosing, like
Correct.
there's different ones. And so maybe share anything that you'd like to share about the
Okay.
disease itself, and then maybe some of the trends that you might be seeing.
Okay. Okay. So, there's three primary types of cicatricial alopecia, and you know that the term cicatricial actually means scarring, and
Mhm.
it's just the technical medical term. And so, one of the things I recognize is that it's a hard word to say and spell and find. So,
Mhm.
we actually changed our name a few years ago from the Cicatricial Alopecia Research Foundation to just Scarring Alopecia Foundation, because
Right.
that's what, where we're calling it. Um, and so, yeah, so there's three different types or primary types. There's
Mhm.
several more, and we call them kind of the secondary types. They're
Mhm.
less common, but we serve all of them. So please rest assured, if you have one of the secondary types, this is the organization to come to.
Right.
But the three primary types are lichen planopilaris, and it's known
Mhm.
as LPP, frontal fibrosing alopecia, which is known as FFA, and then there's CCCA, which is central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia. So that's a
Mhm.
mouthful.
Mhm.
And so these types of scarring alopecia are the ones that we see the most patients contacting us about. And so the lichen planopilaris is patchy scarring alopecia.
Mhm.
Can be different parts of your head, mostly above your ears, sometimes in the back. It can start at the crown.
Mhm.
And then frontal fibrosing alopecia is the one that affects the frontal part of the scalp.
Mhm.
Some patients with that lose their eyebrows and their hairline starts to go back. And
Mhm.
then CCCA is it's centrifugal, so it starts at the crown of the head and it can go in like a circular pattern and you start to lose your hair here.
Mhm.
Patients with CCCA are primarily African American, and there is some theories and rumors and falsities that have been out there among this
Mhm.
community that they caused their scarring
Mhm.
alopecia
Mhm.
because they used straighteners or they used chemicals or they used hot combs and traction
Mhm.
and braids and tight weaves and things like that. That's not necessarily true anymore. Where there's some research and science that's behind this, and it is actually a process in the inflammation
Right.
process that is causing the hair follicle to become attacked, and then the stem cells inside the hair follicle die and
Mhm.
causing the hair follicle to die, and it falls out and then a scar forms over it. So that
Mhm.
hair will never grow back again. It's gone
Mhm.
completely permanent. And that's the difference between scarring alopecia and alopecia areata, is that scarring alopecia is permanent hair loss. The other type is it can come back. The hair follicle is not scarred over.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, the key to this disease is to be able to identify it early,
Early.
right? And if you identify it early, there's treatments out there that can help stop the progression
Mhm.
of it.
Mhm.
But that's one of the problems that we see as more and more patients are joining the organization, is that nobody identified it early enough. Their
Mhm.
hairdresser, their hairstylist, who they see frequently, doesn't know what it is. But that could be an area of education, because if you see your hairstylist every couple weeks and they notice a change in your hair, and having the knowledge about this condition, you can alert you a little sooner
Right.
and you can get treated.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so a lot of patients are frustrated because they find out that if it was caught early, they could have saved some of their hair.
Right.
Unfortunately, it wasn't, and so they have a larger patch. So back to your question. So we have these three primary types, and
Mhm.
we have support groups for all of them. We have a specific one just for CCCA, so that's good to know. But then we have another one for all types that we have a lot of people that come on that one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and plus, I think one of the things that we've learned is that you could have CCCA, but you could also have what, some doctors do a differential diagnosis. So you can
Correct.
have a couple of different things going
Correct.
on.
Correct.
So it is good to know that you can, tap into other resources.
Yes, yes. And yeah, and so what I've noticed in trending wise is that we have a database, and we have approximately 25 to 30 new patients joining SAF every month.
Mm-hmm,
So that's telling us that something's going on. Not only are we Maybe it's because they can find us easier because we've changed our name. Maybe it's because that there's more knowledge in social media and we have a greater reach. But I would have to suspect that a lot of us feel that there's just more and more people being diagnosed with this
Yeah, yeah.
condition. And that we really don't know, unfortunately, what is actually causing it.
Mhm,
There's lots of work being done, trying to identify what's going on. We know that it's a
mhm.
problem with inflammation. It could be triggered by an allergic reaction. It could
Yep.
be triggered by something in the environment. It could be triggered by stress. It could be,
Yes.
right? So, that is a frustrating part of scarring alopecia is like when you're diagnosed, you're like, well, what's causing it?
Right.
And when you don't
Right.
have an answer, it's as a patient, you're like, well, I have this thing. Nobody knows what's causing it. And I have to now
Mhm,
deal with it.
mhm, mhm.
So,
So, yeah, and that's where I think it does come into play. While we can't copy everybody's story, we can get information, right? And be inspired maybe by some who have, figured out for them. That's the one thing I was sharing is I think everybody's story is so unique. Like I think there was at least something in one of the research journals that I read where they identified a gene, but to your point, like, and I was using this hypothesis with one of my other YouTube buddies, like I think something is triggering the inflammation. So the what can we can only control what we can, right? And so what are those things for us that can help us tamp down excess inflammation,
correct. Right.
right? That's at least what are the things that we can do something. And also I think getting the early care. Because I was diagnosed with early scarring alopecia.
Yes. So
That's
you
what
have a
that's what she said.
successful
I
story.
right. So we caught it early. But I also think I had it for longer. I think I told you this. I had it longer than I actually thought I had it. Like
Yeah.
I called it a stress spot, but I think it was actually something just waiting
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so the early diagnosis is critical. And then ongoing treatment is what Dr. Yolanda was saying too. Is like that's really important for us. And so I think you also have on your site a list of dermatologists. Like, isn't there? I think there's actually
Yeah.
you can find a
Yeah.
list of doctors. So for everyone, if you're looking for a doctor, I would say definitely check that site out. We'll have it linked in the description box as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's our physician referral list. And those are doctors that are on our board and doctors that have been recommended to us by other patients. So you can know that this list, they're familiar and
And
knowledgeable about scarring alopecia.
right,
Yeah.
and they've been vetted, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're
Well,
because
and the only discouraging thing is that there may not be one right down the road from you, right? So if you go on the list, you may have to travel a little bit. Or one of the things that we're seeing is that the patients are discovering these experts and they're going to their local derm and saying, hey, can you consult or can I send information, so that there's a little communication with these knowledgeable physicians. So you do have that resource, available.
can have a team. And that's actually one of the things Dr. Yolanda said that she does. Like
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
do a visit with her and she'd be happy to partner with.
yeah, yeah.
So I think there's beauty in that community and people wanting to do that.
And they really care. I mean, they
Hmm.
really, really care. Yeah.
Hmm. And so speaking of trends,
Yeah.
and this was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you specifically was um, there's something called the ICD-10 codes, and this is really groundbreaking news in the space of hair loss. Groundbreaking.
So excited.
And your organization, along with I think another medical student and some other professionals, were instrumental in making this happen. So what
Okay.
I'd love for you to do is tell us what this means now that there's an ICD-10 code
Yep.
and the development and what is its impact for us as
Okay.
patients.
Okay. Okay. So for those who don't know, an ICD-10 code is a code, excuse me, that when you are diagnosed with a condition or a disease, it is an international coding system, so it's all over the world. The doctor, when he goes into your chart, will put what your diagnosis is, and it's assigned to a code. So every disease has a code, and there was not codes for specific scarring alopecia types.
Mhm.
And so that has kind of made it difficult for staff and experts to really know how many people have scarring alopecia. Because there wasn't a specific code for these three primary types, there was only one, and it was for LPP. The physicians are, picking alopecia or LPP and putting everybody into an alopecia general diagnosis or the wrong diagnosis because there was nothing there for them. And so when somebody says, well, how many people have scarring alopecia, or how many people have CCCA or whatever, we don't really know, because if we go into the insurance databases, which is where this information can be captured, when we ask for a scarring alopecia diagnosis and the numbers, it's all mixed up with all different other types of alopecia. So we can't go in and say, oh, 100 people have scarring alopecia. We don't know. It's all, like I said, it's all mixed up. So Itisha Jefferson, who is the founder of, or the founder of our medical student program that we have at Scarring Alopecia Foundation, Dr. Hordinsky and Dr. McMichael, and a team of other med students, they're on our website. What we did is we went to the governmental agency that sets up these ICD-10 codes, and we lobbied and we presented the case that there should be code specific, because this is such an increasing disease and we're seeing more and more patients. We need to be able to correctly identify them and be able to set up a specific course of treatment for each of the different types. But how do we do that if we don't have a code and we don't know how many?
Right.
It was passed. It took about 1.5 years. They've added these codes now. So what we want, the next step is we need to educate all the physicians that when you are seeing a new patient, or you have a patient with a form of scarring alopecia, to go in and make sure you click the ICD-10 code that's specific for that type. And after about 1 year or 2, as these codes are being more and more used, we'll be able to go in then and get some accurate numbers. So how I try to explain the ICD-10 codes and why it is so important for patients is because it's like a snowball effect. If we know the code and now we know how many patients have it, we can publicize that. And now the industry that's out there looking for treatments and trying to improve people's lives with forms of hair loss will see that this is a patient population that's very large, which we suspect it's very large, right? I know, thousands of people that have this. When the industry, particularly pharmaceutical companies now, will be like, wow, this is a huge patient population. There's nobody really has any type of specific treatment. Let's study it and let's figure this out, because we want to help these patients, but we also know that we have a big population of customers. And so that's going to help us catapult the pharma industry to find better treatments for this disease, because it is a growing patient population.
And so how can we, or should we as patients, advocate for ourselves with this latest change?
Okay, so when you go to your dermatologist, make sure, and we'll put, I'm sure you'll put the link up and we'll put the new codes and everything into this. Make sure that you educate your dermatologist. Like, hey, did you know that there's new codes? Do you have me coded properly? And if they're like, oh, I didn't know that. If you can bring a cheat sheet and you look up your code, like I said, we'll list them. You can say, oh, well, my frontal fibrosing alopecia is L66, whatever the number is, right? And they can look it up and code you correctly. That is going to make a huge difference. So you need to educate your physician. Bottom line, tell them about this. Tell them you've learned that there's a code and that you want to make sure that you have me listed properly.
I'm actually going to go back to mine too.
Yeah, no.
Because this is brand new. Like, this is hot off the presses.
There was never one for CCCA.
Yeah. I think mine just said hair loss or alopecia. Like,
yes, it's exactly what it says, hair loss or alopecia. Right? Yeah.
So now let's transition to, you have not only the webinars, the monthly meetings, ways to connect and engage, but you have an amazing annual conference coming up. And so tell us, I did a little peeking, and man, I wish I could be there. I can't, but
I know.
I want to be there.
Yeah.
But just the breakout sessions are amazing. So tell us about this. I'm looking at Scarring Alopecia Foundation Blazing Trails Conference coming up this spring. Tell us about it and why we need to make our way
Uh,
to that conference.
we have not been together as a group in person in 6 years. No, 8 years.
Mhm.
Yeah. The last conference was in 2018, right? Yeah. So
Okay,
it's been 7 years.
7 years. Mhm.
Um, So at our national conference that we're having April 4th through the 6th in Nashville, Tennessee, we're going to have breakouts for CCCA. We have some hairstylists that are coming in. They're going to be showing different types of styling. They're going to teach you about products and shampoos and how to care for your hair and your scalp. We're going to be talking about laser light therapy. We're talking about PRP therapy. We're going to talk about the latest in the JAK inhibitors, which is a new line of treatment for patients with hair loss. We're going to talk about having seborrheic dermatitis and scarring alopecia, which some patients have.
Mhm.
We're going to be talking about hairstyling tips, talking about products and things that you should avoid and should use. And we're going to have two renowned physicians leading a breakout session just on CCCA, where you will be in a room with hundreds of other patients and you'll have the opportunity to listen to a lecture, and then you can have live Q&A with these experts on CCCA. So this is going to be a great resource for patients who are interested in learning more about their condition and getting support and making friends who are in the community.
That's amazing. About the hairstylist too
Yeah.
on site? That
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We also have a trichologist that's going to be leading it. We have and then there's a lot of downtime too. So there's going to be
Yeah.
little clusters. You'll see little clusters of patients that are just kind of meeting in the lobby, or they're sitting at lunch together or whatever. So it's a really great way to connect with others. But the best part about this is that you're going to be in an environment where you're not only with other patients that have scarring alopecia, but you're also going to be able to have live like Q&A. You're going to be literally with
Right.
these physicians, right? And so after they're done with their lecture, we have structured it so that everybody has an opportunity to ask a question.
Mm.
Um, the camaraderie that you will feel and just the support, you're going to make friends. We've had these conferences in the past.
Mhm.
And so some of the patients that are coming back are going to reunite with old friends that they met at a prior conference. But I'll
Mhm.
tell you, we've had over 5,000 new members join the organization since our
Wow.
last conference.
Mhm.
So all new friends. I think one of the most important things that we're going to do at this conference, and
Mhm.
I highly encourage people to attend, is we're going to have a patient panel on Saturday and one on Sunday. And the
Mhm.
purpose for these patient panels, they're going to be led by Dr. Emma Gutman and Dr. Marianne Senna. They're the moderators for the one on Saturday. Is we're going to have about 6 to 8 patients on a panel, and
Mhm.
they're going to ask the right questions so that these patients can talk about the medical journey, the fear, the treatments, what's working, what's not, what they've found. We're going
Mhm.
to talk about the burden of
Yes.
scarring alopecia, and
Yes.
we're going to make sure that this session is communicated to all industry leaders so that they understand what's
Mm.
going on with a scarring alopecia patient, because there's not really a
Mhm.
true picture.
Mhm.
So on Saturday, it's going to be all about the medical side of it. And like I said, it's Dr. Gutman and Dr. Senna. And then on Sunday, we're going to have the same hour long, but it's going to be on the psychosocial, the support, the emotional
Mhm.
part of this. What is this doing to you as a person? How is this affecting your relationships with others? How do you feel about yourself when you wake up in the morning? How are you getting through the day? That kind of thing. And that's going to be led by Dr. Benjamin Unger and Dr. Montagna from Vanderbilt. So those are two things we've never done before, and it's going to be used specifically to educate and share the unmet need and the patient burden of scarring
Mhm.
alopecia.
Mhm. I like the way you say it, the unmet need and the patient burden, because that's how I think a lot of people are experiencing this at times. And so for the Scarring Alopecia Foundation to exist in the way that you do, we applaud you for that. Thank you for that. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to be even more engaged, for me to be even more engaged in the foundation and in the work that's taking place. Is there anything else?
Yes, there's two
Okay.
more things I
Okay.
want to
Okay.
say
Okay.
with you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to state that the Scarring Alopecia Foundation is the only patient advocacy organization in the world for scarring alopecia.
Mhm.
There's no other group out there. We've looked. There's no other formalized group. So we are a 501c3. We are a nonprofit. We're governed by a board. We're guided by a medical board. And so this is the only organization right now that is out there representing the patient voice collectively
Mhm.
in industry, in government, everywhere.
Right. Do you
So
have, can I ask, do you have an international sort of support group
yeah,
in
we do.
there? And
Yeah.
so, because there are women on this channel, so I see you London, I see you in other parts of the world where there are women who are from other part. A woman I know from France just sent me a message. So there are women from all over the
Yep.
world. So even if you don't have an organization in your country, this
Come to us.
organization is an international
Yeah.
organization
Yeah.
designed to support. So please, please, please take advantage of this resource.
Yes, we are international and we do have a CCCA UK group.
Okay, good.
That's also on our website. That's specific for CCCA Eastern in Europe there. You can definitely join. You'll find that on our website. We'll put that up again too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're international and we're growing. That's the crazy part is that we're growing and hopefully by
I
sharing
think you're going to grow even more.
well, I'm
Once you...
hoping that by sharing this message with your
Yeah.
subscribers and your
Yeah.
viewers that there's a resource for them. Like you don't have to be alone and you can dabble as much as you want in it, or you can get super involved and be on committees and volunteer,
Right.
or you can just kind of sit back. There's no charge,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a way to feel connected and feel like you have a place that has your best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things we talked about was there are some people who are on this journey who are all in on the pharma side and pursuing that angle of it. And
Right.
there are those who they really want to stick with natural solutions and holistic,
Yep.
traditional
Yep.
holistic. I say holistic, I include medical, but they don't want to go that far. So this organization is for everyone, regardless of where you land, correct?
Absolutely. It is for everyone. There's patients that, have come to a acceptance and do nothing. They're just like, hey, I got it. There's other patients who are trying treatments to stop the progression and want to save as much hair as possible. It's all comers. We
Mm-hmm.
are an organization that just wants to move the needle for research and get some improvements for this condition
Mm-hmm.
and get it recognized that this is something that people need to pay attention to. It's growing and
Mm-hmm.
there's patients out there that are struggling with this, and so there should be a group, there should be something that people can come to and feel like they have someplace for support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
And
we
I, okay.
we survive on donations. I mean, that's pretty much how we survive. We get
Mm-hmm.
support from patients. We just had our end of year campaign and we exceeded our goal because patients are actually, they're getting something, they're getting value from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they make it, and it doesn't have to be a large donation. We have many members who sign up for our monthly donation
Mm-hmm.
and they
Mm-hmm.
donate $5. So every month it just $5, $5. It's like a drop
Mm-hmm.
in the bucket, doesn't affect their budget. But at the end of the year, it adds up to $60. And then,
Mm-hmm.
if we have all these patients donating, a little bit, we keep growing and we can add more
Right.
staff and resources and whatnot to help improve some of the programming that we do.
Right. Right. That makes perfect sense. And also I did sort of, I guess maybe as we was there anything else you wanted to share?
No,
Yes.
I mean, I could
I
talk about this for hours. I
I
mean,
know.
I love.
Well, and that's my point. I wanted to say this to our audience too. It's like I think that it is a a beautiful gift that you're using your skill set and your passion of gift advocacy, even though you don't have, you may not have it,
Yeah.
but you are so committed and passionate to supporting this community that just thank you for
Oh,
your commitment and using your gifts in this way, right?
oh my gosh,
Because
that's so
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I it's just I'm I don't know where it comes from. It's just
Yeah.
intrinsic, but I am so committed and so passionate for this patient group, and I know we're going to really make a difference. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I get the phone calls, from the patients like, thank you so much for this phone number, or thank you so much for connecting me. I got so much from the support group. I don't feel so desperate anymore.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
kind of stuff is what fuels me, and I want
Right.
to make a
Right.
difference. Yeah.
Right. And all it takes, sometimes I think we want to do all the big things immediately. And sometimes we just need to get through the day, or sometimes we just need that one little resource. And
Yeah.
that's where, because you have so many resources,
Yeah.
that we can tap in. And I love that you say, like, sort of come as you are and get what you need. Right. And that's sometimes that's literally all we need to take the next step. So I
Yep.
just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. You are welcome back anytime. Anytime you want to promote something, anytime you want, if there's something going on and you want to say, hey, let's get this out
Okay.
to the community, you just send me an email
Okay.
and
Yeah,
we'll
no,
do it.
I'd be happy to. Hopefully there'll be some good news coming down the pipeline in the
Yeah.
next few, months to years, and I can come on and be like, hey, Lynn,
Yeah.
I've got this new thing to share. That'd be
Yep.
great.
And you will be welcome here. So
Okay.
thank you so much, Jean. And
Um,
everyone, thank you for watching. And as always, live well, live blessed, nourish your crown, and we'll see you in the next video.